Hi everyone, I'm Kristen from Coping to Creating, where the purpose is to help people escape addictions and unhealthy living so that they can create their dream reality. Does any of this sound like you? I can't stop. I can't stop drinking alcohol. I can't stop online shopping. I can't stop gambling. I can't stop watching porn. I feel stuck. I feel stuck in this unhealthy relationship that's like a cycle where I feel good, it's going well, and then it's horrible, then it's not, then it is. I feel stuck in this job that I know is not my jam. I know I can do more. This is just a paycheck, but yet I can't seem to escape it. If any of this sounds like you, well, then this approach is for you. And I'm excited to go through it. It's 3 steps. It's actually super simple and can be fun because in a way, when we think of our lives, we are avatars in this life on earth. And as you watch people play video games, children play video games and become these avatars, they're constantly making choices about what they want their life to look like, how they want to live it. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. Escaping the old and creating that desired reality. And I wanted to provide a little bit of context as to why I'm actually presenting it on YouTube, which is that I'm currently writing a book about the approach. And I would really love to gain feedback from others that have actually used the approach and how it's worked for them so that I can incorporate that into the book to continue to help others. So without further ado, I'd like to get into what exactly this easy 3-step approach is. And essentially it starts with understanding what realm are you currently living in. Of course, we're always going to talk about thoughts and emotions and how these interact. And of course, you're probably also thinking, well, yeah, everybody's always like, just change your thoughts. And yeah, miraculously, you're going to change your thoughts and manifest, and everything's going to be great. But it's not just about changing your thoughts, and we'll get into that. I also wanted to mention that in other videos, I will get deeper into the science behind this approach and why it works. Specifically, when we look at the approach, it's more about metaphysics and neuroscience. In case I'm going to edit that, I'm going to say metaphysics and neuroscience. Maybe I won't edit. I think I'm just going to free flow it. So really, the number one that we're starting with, again, is our realm. So I present to you the Rand Realms of Living model. And this is something that I came up with as I personally was struggling in my life with certain areas where I just felt stuck. And no matter how hard I tried, it was just something that I couldn't get out of, that I couldn't change, even though everything in my rational mind knew that it was not for me. So essentially what this is showing that you have 3 different realms that you can choose to live in. And you can choose. It is a choice. Again, this is what makes it fun. Just think of it again as you're an avatar in your own game of life. Unfortunately, sometimes we do get stuck in this bottom realm, which I call the realm of aid, which is addiction, imprisonment, independence. Not independence, and dependence, like when you think dependence on a substance or a person in a codependent relationship. So essentially, this is the worst area that we can get in, where we just feel no matter what we do, we're just stuck down there and we don't know how to pull ourselves out. This next realm up here, realm of safety, more in the blue zone, this is actually a good realm to be in. And most people, especially healthy people, do find themselves in the safety realm. It's where you're going about your day, you feel good about your life, things are relatively stable and secure, you have a decent amount of satisfaction, and not a lot going on that's creating you a lot of angst and issues like you would have in the areas below. And then the epitome of awesomeness is the realm of freedom, where really you feel like you're extending out. You don't feel anything tethers you, that you can just purely live your life and enjoy. And when things hit you in life that are difficult to deal with, you're able to deal with them and move on and adjust, understanding that it's part of life. So oftentimes people will be in the realm of safety, as I was saying, maybe in the instance of a career where it's safe, it's a safe job, right? But there's something in them that's like, doesn't feel that they are fully expanding into what they are capable of providing in the world. So that's where they might want to branch out to the realm of freedom. And that is a point I want to make. This is a model that can be used for any part of your life. You could be doing super, super well, like from a career perspective, and feel like you're in the realm of freedom. You've got your dream job, you're doing everything you want. But maybe you have some sort of addiction that you're struggling with, such as alcoholism or online shopping or whatever it might be. So this is really a tool that you can use because it's something that can be used for all different aspects of your life at different times. Because again, career might be great now, but then in the future you find yourself down here. So being able to come back to it and assess and look at, where am I in different aspects of my life? And lastly, not a realm itself, but the stock cycle. Honestly, when I was first creating this, I called it like the S cycle. I was like, I don't know exactly what it's going to end up being, but it's that cycle that you're just like, I can't stand it. Like, why am I back here again? Why is this happening again? Why can I not get out of this? And that's where a lot of people actually end up, especially when there's some sort of addiction or unhealthy relationship is here. And I will tell you from my personal experience that unhealthy relationships can actually be more difficult to break out of than some other addictions, depending obviously on what they are. But note, caveat, and I will have this in a separate video in more detail, an unhealthy relationship is an addiction. If you look at what the definition of an addiction is, essentially when you're engaging in certain behaviors or activity that ends up providing some sort of negative consequence, but yet you still keep on engaging in that behavior over and over again. And that's exactly what an unhealthy relationship is. People stay in a relationship, keep engaging, even though they have a decent amount, and often sometimes a very significant amount of time in that relationship that is not a happy time, that is not a good time, that is not something that they want to stay in, but yet they stay. And it's for all the reasons, again, that I will get into in a different video related to the dopamine cycle, intermittent reinforcement, and other types of dynamics that keep people in those relationships because, again, it's the same as any other type of addictive cycle. So with that, these are the realms. I will be referring to the realms in the stuck cycle. So wanted to make sure you were couched in exactly what that is because I made a little small diagram of it here. So what you do is you start with that realms model and you identify, where are you? Maybe it's with the addiction or the relationship. Are you down in the bottom in 8? Is it that bad? Are you in the stuck cycle? Maybe you're safe. And again, maybe you're safe in one area, but in another, you're stuck. So identifying where you are and then where for that particular area you would like to be, what realm. Now, this is huge because when we think about wanting to change something, to have a visual in your mind and know that you are shifting your identity to someone who's living in a different realm. So to understand how this works, if you've seen, I'll give an example of the movie The Matrix. So in The Matrix, at the beginning, you have Mr. Anderson, right? And he wears his little suit and he goes to his little job and he's miserable, right? But he's in that safety zone. and he's sitting there. He does not want to be in that zone. Something in him knows there's something more for him, right? So that's where he is. Where he wants to be is within the freedom zone. So once you're able to identify that, right, and then he ends up becoming Neo in the freedom zone at the end of the movie. He actually steps into that identity that he originally starts just having as an online persona, being Mr. Anderson during the day, and then Neo online, until he fully steps into that freedom, into that realm that he really wants to live in. So as you're able, because you're going to be making decisions every single day that are going to be affecting this cycle, which we're about to get into. And that is what's going to help bring you to the realm that you're desiring to be in, is remembering, picturing in your head where you are and where you want to be. But really what you need to be doing is not just picturing where you are and where you want to be, you just have to be it. So it's not do, it's be. And we'll get into that. So moving to thoughts and emotions. So this is what creates the patterns. This is what creates these addictions and staying in the unhealthy relationship, is your thoughts and emotions. And when you're trying to change, it's very difficult, especially because emotions are the most powerful aspect that we have from a human experience on this earth. It's actually the language of our unconscious, subconscious, whatever you want to call that. When we think about the fact that 90% of our thoughts every day are the repeats of the day before, it's all that subconscious, unconscious stuff going on. So say, I'll give an example here. If you are feeling sad, and that emotion then makes you think, you know what, if I have a drink, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel relaxed. I'll start feeling happy. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have my drink. And then that creates a cycle here of thoughts and emotions. So this really does go together when you think about like a cyclical type of situation, that constant cycling between your emotions and your thoughts, your emotions and your thoughts. So what needs to be done here in order to fully start changing and being someone that doesn't think these thoughts or have these feelings is, of course, we need to break the loop. Now, also what happens, and we're just giving this example of the alcohol, is so you've got this loop here, but what also ends up happening from this loop, right, is you end up with a behavior. So in my example, the behavior was drinking. Maybe for somebody else, when we talk about the relationship, it's going back, calling, texting that person, even though you know that's not the relationship you want, right? So if we actually break one of these links here, we will also break this. What happens is people usually focus on this, right? They focus on, oh, well, I'll just change my behavior. If maybe my issue is I'm unhealthy, well, I'll start going to the gym. But if you don't change your thought and emotion cycle loop, then you will not be able to change the behavior, because these are just all interconnected. You break it up here, it breaks it down here, not the opposite way. And this is why so many people fail in trying to get out of the relationship, stop the addictive substance or behavior, is because they're focusing on the behaviors. They're focusing on the action. They're focusing on the effect, not the cause. When we think about universal laws of cause and effect, if you keep focusing on the effect here, that's not changing the cause. So you will eventually revert back, which is what most people do, hence the stuck cycle, okay? So what we want to do is break here. That's what we want to do. And the approach is simple. When you have, say, the example of the drink, the alcohol, your thoughts, You cannot stop your first thought. It's going to happen. It's the second thought, right? So the first thought might be, I'm going to have a drink. I'm going to have a drink. Second thought is, I don't do that anymore. Now you can make this coined, canned response whatever you want. It can be, I don't do that anymore. That was the old me. You can be real specific to, I don't drink, right? Again, when you think about identification, when you're out and about, somebody offers you a drink, instead of saying, I'm trying to cut back, or I'm trying not to drink, or I'm XYZ number of days sober, instead it's, I don't drink. That's your identity. That's the identity of the person up here. The identity of the person down here, or even in the stuck cycle, is the one saying, I'm trying not to, or I can't control my alcohol, whatever realm you're in. The one up here is, I don't drink. And that's what I was talking about when I say you need to be it now. Is instead of, I'm trying not to, my goal is, don't even get me started on goals. My goal is, no, you need to be it now. So the thought comes in, you automatically go to your canned response, your mantra, whatever it is. I don't do that anymore. That was the old me, the person down here. You're making that space and making a choice. And the reason you're going to be like, why would this even work? The reason it works, it's so simple, but the reason it works is because you go from the emotion. You have a lot of emotion here. That's what's driving this and wanting you to do the behavior. When you're able to break it by using your second thought and converting that thought, you're now engaging your prefrontal cortex, the front of your brain, which cuts the emotion off. You know, when you think about something that you just autopilot, like there's no emotion there, it just goes. And that's what happens. I don't do that anymore. It cuts off the emotion. It just brings you, and then you're able to make a different selection and avoid. Will it work every single time? Maybe not. But the point is, when you're doing this all throughout the day, every time something reminds you of something you used to do down here, and again, in another video, we'll get into it. It's related to your frequencies and your vibrations and how you're putting things out. But if you're acting, you're going to make a choice or thinking in any way that's the person in these zones where you want to be up here, you have these responses. And I'm telling you, if you keep doing it, it becomes second nature, and you start to actually become, because you are being that person, you will become that person in your reality. So that's what the focus is. Now, the reason I said a 3-step approach, because if you think about this, one is, okay, where you at? Where you want to be. Second is understanding this cycle and how to cut the thoughts off, right? Now, the third, I'm telling you, I never needed to implement this, but it is there as a backup. It's kind of your backup parachute. And it's instead of, your thought number 2 being the thing that you change, you're still going to do that. But say you do that, and this is why I've said I've never need to do it, because when I do that, that's it. I don't need to do anything else. But if you do it and you're still having an emotion, it's still in there, then what you can do is actually change your emotion. Now, the reason we didn't start with this first is because to change your emotion is very difficult, right? When you feel that sadness, you feel that loneliness, whatever it is, that uncomfortable feeling, that negative feeling where you want to just engage in that activity that makes you feel better. It's very difficult to get out of that without, again, bringing yourself into your prefrontal cortex and canceling it out. So you don't just start with, let me change my emotion. But if this, for some reason, does not work with your thought to break this cycle, the technique that can be used is neuro-linguistic programming. I know it sounds ridiculously big, short for NLP, but it's basically techniques. When you think about reprogramming your brain, you're doing that here with your thoughts, right? You're repetitively saying something different, telling yourself something different. I'm not that person anymore. That's a reprogram. To reprogram your emotions, NLP is used, and the main way, in my approach, that it's used is through anchoring on your body. It's a very simple approach. I have another video, get more into the specifics on NLP and why it works. But to give you the quick and dirty on it, essentially what you do is you bring forward an emotion in your body, and it's placing yourself back into maybe a situation, a scenario where you felt a very positive emotion, like pure love, pure joy. And you bring that into your body. And then you touch a spot on your body. Usually it's this knuckle here, which I will not touch because it is my anchor. And when you touch that, you are anchoring that emotional feeling. And in NLP, we recommend stacking, which is you do that several times with several positive emotions. You hold while you're feeling it. You remove your finger once that feeling starts going away. And you repeat that several times. In between, you do something to just, if you will, cleanse the palette of emotion. So say you anchored with a feeling of pure joy, then you stop, and usually it's helpful if you have a partner, but if you don't, you think of something random like, what did I eat today? Just thoroughly cleanse of what you just felt. Think of another, maybe it's a success you had where you felt really good about yourself when you accomplished something. And again, you feel that whelm up in you, that great feeling. You do the touch, you remove before it fades. You want to have that anchoring happen while you're still feeling it. You repeat this several times, like I said. So then, if you do need, and people use this for anxiety, they use it for other things when they really are getting these emotions, and they would like to try to change that emotion quickly. So it's not like a behavior or something like that. It's just an overwhelming emotion, like I said, maybe an anxiety attack. To use the NLP anchoring as a technique. So again, if thoughts don't work, use that. And just a side note, what I found works really well for me to create that anchor is music. Because in another video, I'll get into why music can be a whole negative as far as programming and keeping you, especially in the stuck cycle. Like, definitely, if you're trying to get out of a unhealthy relationship and all you're listening to is songs about unhealthy relationships, you're going to be staying there. But songs can be used also for positive. And if you're ever listening to a song, and this is again how I anchored, where you just feel so much joy and love. For me, I might start crying just out of pure happiness. Like, it's so beautiful. It reminds me maybe of a specific time I had with someone special to me. And I will hold. And then when that fades, and that's how I created my anchor with songs. So just a bit of a recommendation there of something that might work for you. So these are the approaches. Again, remembering you're starting with your realms. And what is also so cool about this is when you think about a lot of other approaches to say, I don't know, ending a problem with using a substance or a behavior, there's a lot of shame and guilt. And that's actually what keeps people trapped in the bottom. There's no shame and guilt in this. This is just literally like, hey man, like, again, just like playing a video game. Oh, I'm stuck down here. But I've seen that with my kids. Oh, dude, I got stuck at level whatever the heck, right? You're just stuck. That's all it is. And you're going to be able to get yourself moving into a different realm because you choose to. And if you don't, then you don't. And that's how you know. Like, if you're like, yeah, I know I'm here, and you find that you're really not that motivated, then maybe you just really don't want to change. But if you want to be out of whatever it is, this is awesome. Because again, it's a fun way where you can be like, even if there's something that starts pulling you back, it's okay. It's not like, oh, I totally blew it because I did send that person the text and I was trying to get out of it or whatever it is. No, that's just one thing that happened. And you think, again, a video game. Oh man, I fell in that little pit again. Okay, well, what do? You just stay in the pit the rest of the video game? No, you keep where you're motivated to go and you change. And so that's what it is. So always keeping that in your mind and knowing that you just want to go to a different level in the game. And that's what you're working on. And when you have those different opportunities throughout the day and you feel like it's something from the person down here, but you're this person now, it's always thinking about that. And this is not what this person does. That's not what I do. I'm telling you, enough of doing that and you will be where you want to be. And lastly, if it doesn't work for some reason, you can invoke the NLP anchor. One thing I do want to mention here is the usual flow, yes, is you feel an emotion, it's tied with a thought. Sometimes it's a combination of like the thought, you think something and then that makes you feel sad. Again, you like listening to some song, oh, woe is me, like this is with my relationship with so-and-so. These are interconnected. But sometimes the emotion, if you have, say, PTSD or other types of trauma, sometimes with that, your body just reacts. Like you don't even know why. So if you've ever been in the situation where you happen to be somewhere, maybe there's a smell, all of a sudden your body, like you feel massive anxiety or some overwhelming, horrible feelings, and you literally don't know why. It's like nothing happened. It's not, why am I all of a sudden feeling this way? Sometimes that's because of something like a past trauma or PTSD. So I want to recognize that emotion can come on very strong, and without you knowing why, it's difficult to address the thought. So if it is a trauma type of issue, that's separate, and I can talk about that in another video, but it's not to say you cannot implement this, because when you have those emotions, you're able to engage thought. Once you're able to recognize that's part of something trauma, something from my past, you can say, that's my past. I am not that person anymore. That is not happening to me now. So you can still invoke your second thought to break a cycle. It's just understanding that sometimes it might come on without you recognizing the thought behind where that extreme emotion might be coming from. So these are the 3 steps. I really hope you try them. Again, really it's only 2. The fun part, and then constantly having this, that's not me, I've moved on, I'm this person now. And sometimes it's even fun to make a name. Sometimes people do that. If their name was Jane and they like Jasmine better, they're like, I'm Jasmine. Like, Jasmine doesn't do that anymore. And I know that can sound very like hoity-toity, but it actually helps. And again, it makes you have a little bit more fun with it and recognize that you have that control over your life to create the reality that you desire. So again, please feel free to write in the comments, provide feedback. I have a link to my website. You can also email me to provide feedback. I'd love to hear your experiences with working with the 3-step approach. Thank you.